Hi, everyone. Once again, thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Carmen. I'm part of the Create App Championship team. So before we dive into today's session, I would like to welcome all the new participants who joined today for the first time. Welcome you all. And before we kick off one of the most important sessions that we had, where we will help you to develop your business model using AI, I would love to tell you a little bit about the competition. So, Christina, please. The Create App Championship is an initiative from Create Apps, the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy. This is the third edition of the Create App Championship, a global competition under the Create Apps in Dubai initiative, launched by His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. So the program is designed to advance digital innovation and position Dubai as a leading global hub for mobile app development. Next, Christina, please. Over the last two editions, we received more than 5,800 applications from 132 countries. So what I mean is this is not a local competition at all, and anyone around the world who has an interest in Dubai and who has an app idea can apply. So last year only we helped develop over 340 prototypes. So this is the right place to get your ideas come to reality. So next, Christina. So if you are looking to set up a business in Dubai, or you already have a company and you are looking into digitalizing further, you can apply. Anyone that have a cool idea for mobile application that you think that will work well in the city of Dubai, you can submit your application. And if you are choosing one of the four winners, you will receive an investment of $150,000. So there are four categories. I always say the same, that we are not going into too much detail because everything is on the website. But just to give you a little bit of information, we have the youth category for young participants from 14 years old. We have the most innovative, the most impactful, and this year we have a special category that is the industry of the year, longevity. So next, Christina. So for those who want to be completely updated of everything that is going on, please join this WhatsApp channel where we will be sharing news and updates. Also, as a small reminder, and I will say again at the end of the session, we bring today two news. The first one is that tomorrow we will have, it's not new because it happens every week. so tomorrow is a reminder. We have the Q&A session. So it's our weekly session where we take the chance to listen all your questions and try to answer as much as possible. So please, if you have any question regarding the competition, join us tomorrow, 3 p.m. Dubai time, and take advantage today to ask the question regarding the workshop. And the second thing is that next week we have a special session. So we will have next Wednesday, 3 p.m., the showcase of our winner. So I recommend to everyone, don't miss this session because we will have the four winners from last year where they will be sharing how they did the prototype, how did they recording their videos, and how they created their pitch deck. So it's the right moment to ask them for tricks and tips, okay? So without any further delay, I will hand over to Tim, Christina, Robert, that we are waiting to get to know how we can develop the business model using AI. So thank you very much, all of you. Hope that you enjoy this session. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Carmen, for the warm welcome and handover. Also from our side, welcome to this week's session. This is really all about business modeling, operations, a little bit of business numbers. So in comparison to the fantastic UI and UX design that we've been talking about the last 2 weeks, we're going to go into numbers now, of course, just as equally as important for developing your business models. So yeah, I'm accompanied today by my fantastic colleagues, Tim and Robert. Both have many years of industry experience, so are also able to share a lot of insights and hopefully give you a better understanding on how to actually quantify your opportunity, but also how to launch your app in the market. Same rules as always follow. So please, as Carmen already mentioned, keep your microphone on mute. It'll be interactive. We'll ask you a few questions in the chat. Also happy to answer any questions as we go along. We'll be working on Mentimeter. There'll be a AI demo at the end of the session. There'll be room for questions. And of course, there'll also be a 5-minute break to refuel with some good coffee or tea and move around a bit. So without further ado, let's get started. Oh, that was going the wrong direction. There we go. So yeah, where we are now in the process is solidify your idea. Next week, we'll go, of course, into hearing all those pitches, as Carmen just mentioned. And then I think we'll actually have one more session now, December 17th, with Andrea and Elmo also to really focus on your pitches. So based on insights of all these weeks, plus the amazing session next week, we hope that you'll have all the tools for a really, really successful submission. That being said, what is the submission and what is the end goal? What do we want you guys to deliver? So of course, the app business canvas, which we ask you guys to have a very focused and differentiated value proposition, have a really strong MVP with an underlying business model. That's what we'll be mainly focusing on today. The clickable prototype, that's kind of what we've did the last 2 weeks. And of course, the compelling 5-minute video pitch. That's what we're going to focus on in the next 2 upcoming sessions. I hope this canvas is meanwhile familiar to everyone. This is essentially your submission form for the competition, answering all these questions, that we're also answering and trying to give insights on during these sessions. And this would also translate then if you would have to pitch your app idea into a structure, a skeleton, so to say, for your 5-minute video pitch. So you can see how the colors slightly match, and then you have, so to say, a nice introduction and a good round hook. What is important to mention is that we want a 1 or 2 minute demo, preferably 2 minutes, showing your app, explaining how it works, so that the judges have a clear idea of what to be looking for. Thinking about judges and also thinking about what makes a good pitch. I'm sure you'll hear so much of that in the upcoming sessions, but also just a short reminder from our end. Make it personal. As you only have 5 minutes, it should be very clear, easy to follow, relatable, with focus, but still have that element of surprise, right? So you're also telling a story, maybe your founder's story, maybe identifying the problem in the market and the solution that you're offering. The stories and the facts that you offer with the demo should be able to make it believable and convincing. And please round off your pitch with a very clear ask so that it's really easy to say yes to you. What is the ask? Why do you want to win this competition? What is your future vision? And how can the judges and potential further investors help you achieve that? So also taking, of course, this competition UI, UX design, but also, of course, a lot of human-centered design. We would also advise you to really think about who is in your audience. So who are the judges? What are they looking for? What could they be looking for? And if we think about, what we want in that video to happen, you want them to be engaged, that they feel something, that they think about something, and that there is a very clear call to action, a very clear motivation to say yes to you. And of course, that really only happens with practice, practice, practice. It is a 5-minute video pitch, so you can, of course, repeat as often as you want. It is a video, it's up to you. But of course, also the more you practice ahead of time, the faster the filming would also go. That being said, let's do that right now. So we'll give you again 5 minutes to write down your pitch in 10 sentences. So for each line that you see here, 1 sentence. Give you 5 minutes for that now. Let me start the timer. There we go. And once we're done, we'd like 2 people, actually, because we skipped 1 person last time, 2 people just to read their 10 sentences, not more, not less. Also, please make sure that you have that you're in a quiet space to do this and that there's no background noise so that we can hear you very well. Yep, so go ahead, rewrite, iterate, improve, or, start from fresh, writing out your text. And if anyone wants to go and present, then please comment in the chat and we'll let you go first. How many words in each sentence? I mean, Please don't make it a run-on sentence. Let's put it that way. To be clear enough to bring the message across. Let's do it.
One question, I think.
Someone also sent me a personal question. Can you speak in Arabic? If you do have a question right now, or if you want to go, please comment in the chat. Got a personal question. If I need to speak in Arabic, for the sake of this competition and this webinar, we will do everything in English. And yes, we will share the presentation later. And Farah, I see that you raised your hand. Yeah, just please write your question in the chat, or if you want to go first, please also comment that in the chat. Oh, Dr. Mohammed.
Yeah, the faulty.
What does ask mean? 1 second. So what does ask mean? Someone wrote. So that's what you need, so to say, to take the first steps. So what is the ask that you have, towards the judges? What do you need to take that first small steps? And yeah, I think also if you think about what they want as an audience, the ask, like the ask, what do you need to do the first steps? And of course that should be kind of, yeah, very concrete. Okay, Ada also wants to go. You're right, you're supposed to write 5 sentences. So 1 sentence per line.
No.
Last 20 seconds. So for our 2 presenters, Dr. Mohammed Al-Muqdad and Ada Alani, please keep it short, concise, to the point. All we need is your sentences. Okay. Dr. Mohammed, please come to the floor and pitch us your idea. And Dr. Mohammed, you wanted to go first. Otherwise,
Hello, everyone.
There we go.
I'm Dr. Mohammed Al-Muqdad. I'm a general surgeon. I came here to Dubai since 2 years. Okay, so I know how is the life of an expat who's living in another country who's trying to make a new home. The challenge that I'm trying to face, that there are millions of expats in the UAE struggling with loneliness, homesickness, cultural differences, okay, and maladapting in this great country. And I'm suggesting a solution with my app, a little piece of home, okay, that can offer all the necessary mental tools, okay, based on neuroscience, okay, lifestyle modifications, and also guiding in this great country all the tools needed for the new arrival here. The main benefit will transform the experience of loneliness, okay, and the continuous belonging by giving every expat a personalized space that can strengthen his rituals with his home country and his emotional stability and well-being, okay, while he's building this great country. We can make it big because there are over like 9 to 10 million expats in the UAE and hundreds of millions globally that can be benefited from this well-being platform and this matter that no one has spoken about till now. So that's my app.
Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing. Do you also know what your ask is, or so say what you would want if you would get the, win the competition? What would you do to make your app big?
Actually, I need to perfect. I have an MVP that I've done, okay, but I need to perfect this app to make it the central tool of feeling at home in this country, the GCC, the whole world, also to connect it with my other ideas and apps of mental well-being as
Very
a
nice.
physician and an expat.
Okay, sounds fantastic. Very curious to see the results. Yeah, and thanks for sharing. Rada, give the
Thank you.
floor to you to pitch us your idea in your 10 sentences.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Gadi Alani, and my app is called Find Your Inner Peace. My app is basically a personalized wellness and self-growth app designed to help users calm their mind and transform their life. It combines mindfulness, journaling, AI-driven guidelines, emotional tracking, mood tracker, nutrition. It's basically a wellness app, and also, it has many features. It also like hobbies, anything to release stress and anxiety, things like that, basically. So yeah.
Nice. Where are you right now in the process of developing your app?
I finished developing the app. It's bilingual. It's in Arabic and English. Hope, I'll share the link if anyone wants to see it.
Yeah. Also very curious then for your submission later on. Thank you both of you for sharing. Really nice to also see that these things are moving along as we go in the competition. Nice to see that you both already have your MVPs ready to go as well. That's great, and yeah, good luck for your further endeavors of also now taking into consideration the business aspect of how to grow with us and scale it with the financials. So today we are focusing on solidifying your idea, and with that, I'll hand it over to my partner in crime, Tim Spearman.
Thank you very much, Christina, and thank you for the nice pitches. One thing maybe to reflect back on the pitches, what is sort of key is that you grab the people you present to sort of from an emotional perspective. So if you talk about the challenge, really try to share the challenge from the point of view of the person that you're using, of your customer, and what kind of problem this customer is or this end user is having, and make it a little bit dramatic so that people really feel that you are solving a very important problem. And today, indeed, Christina, if we can go to the next slide. Today we'll focus on a lot of numbers, actually. Numbers, and we'll talk a little bit about MVP, and numbers being, of course, your opportunity in the market. What kind of numbers are we talking about? Who can we reach? We talk about sort of the operational model and what are the costs relating to that model, and how can you play around with that? And of course, talking about what do we do to go to market? And indeed, Christina, if you go to the next slide, is that it really focuses on the make it big part of your presentation. So talking about potential markets and sort of addressable markets in a second, which is of course very important for investors to understand what you think the potential is based upon good evidence, of course, and what's the next steps that you want to take. So what's also the ask of the people that are listening and are potentially wanting to invest in your idea. So these two parts of your presentation we'll focus upon today. There's actually quite some content in the slides, so we'll be covering the content in these slides on a higher level. But there's really interesting stuff in. So basically, to break it down, we'll look at the business potential, so the market, and how can you have some rules about how to quantify your market, from total markets to maybe launch markets, revenue and operational model, of course. What do you need to support the organization of your startup? What will be your MVP? And what will be the first sort of channels through which you will launch, and what do you need to in different phases towards launching your MVP? So that's today, and now I think we are going to have a few questions from your side through Menti. So please scan this Menti code, and then you will find some questions that are an interesting prep, of course, for thinking about what this session could mean for you and what you can get out of this session. And I think, the session is key to really understanding and helping your people or the people that you present to understand the business potential, which of course is very important. Yeah. Okay. So we'll get the first questions, and it's a little bit about the last meeting, of course, the last session that you had with the UI UX specialist, and also the sharing of the story of the participant of last moment. So how was your UI development, and how are you feeling about your prototype? I see all kinds of really positive responses. So what did you learn from your testing, for example, to improve your prototype? Did you learn something new lately? You need help. Some people need help. Really good. Amazing. Amazing comes up. It's good to be confident on your idea, of course. Also be good to be confident and be open for feedback. Sometimes if you're too confident, it's hard to listen to the feedback you get through testing, which is very important to learn and to improve, of course, your prototype. So nice to see all your responses. I see one bad. Well, testing will help you to understand, of course, what's happening and how to improve. There's more to do. Good thinking of the level of complexity I should consider. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about complexity also in a moment when we talk about MVP. So let's go on to the next question. Thank you for responding. How many users do you plan to target with your app? And of course, there you can say, what's the total market? But you can also think about, well, what's the first, set of users that you want to reach to grow the potential in the market? So how many users do you plan to target with your app? 500, that's a good, 100, 1,000 per country. 50,000 users, 1.3 billion cardiac patients. Ooh, amazing. That should have high potential. And of course, again, the numbers are important in this business. So we'll also talk a little bit about later how you can build a strategy to get to these numbers, which are important in the app development business. And then, of course, it depends also really if you go into a B2C market or maybe a business-to-business market. So 8 billion, that's great. That's great. So let's go to the next question. Then, of course, your launch. What will be your first launch of your product? Did you already identify your launch market? And there's again a lot of positivity with a big yes. And a few haven't understood their launch market yet. And of course, it's very important also for investors to give them a good idea of what the launch market may be. Thank you very much for your. We have still one. Very good. Have you already identified channels to target when launching your app? So probably the ones with yes, they might have thought about that. And of course, you have different phases in launching your app, or different phases in which your end users will decide to work with your app, or whether they're interested, or whether there's a certain awareness, or when they are convinced to start buying. So great. So the positiveness is wonderful to see. Wonderful to see. So one more question. What type of a revenue model have you considered? And we gave you three potential revenue models, and within these models, of course, you have, of course, also the flexibility to play around with different types of charging. Of course, free is also good, and you have to think about the value that you want to get out of it and how you organize that. Subscription is the prevalent sort of business revenue model. So we'll talk about that also later. I think Robert is covering a lot of this stuff in his sharing. So was this the last question? I don't know by heart. Yes. So I'll take over the screen and do some sharing on my end. Share my screen. Yes, there we go. There we go. So as I discussed, it is very important to think about these numbers, and maybe start thinking about the numbers from a market perspective. So if you then think about the numbers from a market perspective, and you think about your app canvas, then really it's about the market opportunity. So the value of solving the problem and the addressable market size in the end. And of course, you get to an addressable market size using a few steps. And what you can then, of course, do, and in your presentation, we are really talking about the make it big part of your story, right? So the status and the next steps will, I think, be more covered also by Robert a bit later. I go the wrong way around. What's happening? Yeah, there we go. So to get to your market potential, the interesting canvas that you can use, and you can download it from the place where you downloaded the other materials, is that you get from potential market to addressable market to obtainable market. And then you can also think about, well, if I launch my first MVP launch, who do I target there, and what would my market be? And to go a little bit more in detail, we first have a look at the total potential market. So if you talk about, for example, a fitness app, and you think about Dubai or the UAE as a region, you can think about, well, who have the problem that you're addressing, and then you really talk about the total potential market. And if you want to use a formula for that, you can the number of people in that addressable market plus the number that they would spend. So then you have your total potential market. Of course, it is maybe not the market that wants to all use your app. They have the problem, but there may be different ways to solve that problem. So the serviceable addressable market, as you can call it, and you can find this model also if you search online, the serviceable addressable market is the part of the total market that, in this case, in your app building case, is really interested in having the problem solved using tech or using an app. So you might look at your total potential market and then think, well, which part of that total potential market will really solve or is interested to solve the problem using an app. Then you have the serviceable market, as they call it. And of course, within this serviceable market, you might also have others that are part of that market. Other people, coming up, startups coming up, or other organizations having an app that could, or an online environment that helps these people solve the problem. So you also have to think, well, what part of that market can I pick? So if you talk about the serviceable addressable market, and you want to go to the obtainable, so what is realistic for your app to get as customers in the end, of course, you use a percentage of your accessible market. So you go from total to serviceable, accessible market, and then you think about obtainable. And what you can then think, of course, is in your story, you have to really convey also where you want to launch to these people that want to invest. So you can think about, well, there is probably a smaller part of that obtainable market that you really want to use for launch. And these are, of course, the first adopters of new technology. And they have, this problem very actively. So you think about segments within this obtainable market that would be, the first ones that would adopt and that would start using your app. And of course, that's a smaller part of the total obtainable market. If you want to do that calculation, you can often in many directions. So, use that way of calculating a number of times, also testing it with people in the market to understand where you might end up with. And you can use, of course, these slides later to be more precise in how you calculate. Of course, there are, and we addressed it in the beginning, there are, of course, a lot of tools nowadays that can help you in a very iterative way to understand and to get a better idea and get also fresh ideas of what your business model could look like. And of course, a big part of the business model is also how you operate your organization. Another big part that we just discussed is what will your market be? There are quite a number of tools that can really help you, and we named a few in these two slides. So Upmetrics, Prompt AI, ConvoBoss, Plania, Visology, and of course, generative AI tools like ChatGPT can really help you. The big difference between, for example, the generative AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or these kind of tools and the other tools is that the other tools are really focusing on giving you outcomes that you can immediately use as formats to present to potential investors. So if you want to have a business model canvas out, then they will immediately give you a business model canvas or a report on your strategy and your business plan. With ChatGPT, you need to do some explicit prompting to get there. So as a general sort of idea, what you can do is maybe first use some ChatGPT sort of ideation and exploration prompts, and then validate and make it more precise and get an outcome that you can more immediately use using one of the other apps. And then you can use this table for comparison, which of the other apps you can most handily use. What we want to show you now is, because the logic using ChatGPT and using the other tools is quite similar. The big difference, of course, that with ChatGPT, you have to understand the logic and then create a prompt using that logic. And if you understand that, then you're more flexible. With the other tools, they really guide you through by using a number of questions, guide you through the same logic. So what we would like to do is a little live demo to show you prompts that you can use or logic that you can use to come up with your business model. And for that, I give the floor to Christina again, and I will stop sharing.
So allow me to back here.
Yes.
Exactly. So while Tim was presenting, I was already busy working away, getting this prompt set up, and we'll send it to you also in the chat in a second. So I think rather now, or let me see if I can also do that right now, or maybe Tim can find it in the drive.
Yeah.
under tools and send it to you guys. I'll post it in a second. So essentially, when you think about your business, right, you are maybe one person or in a small team. So we thought, let's create a team where we bring in the expertise. So we need a market analyst, also who's focused on data-driven. We need industry skeptics, so someone who has that voice of reason, but also a startup operator. So someone who also is understanding where you're currently operating in. So we're prompting our ChatGPT in this case to assume these 3 roles to help us calculate these numbers. The first thing that we would then, as a team, your job is to help me build a realistic time-sum model for my app. The first thing that we want to do is, understand my app concept, and there you'll be asked to add in, the example that you want to use. In our case, we now said it's a gaming app targeting teenage girls to develop financial literacy and learn about investing with the fake stock market. Our target users are teenage girls in GCC countries, aged 12 to 18, and our pricing model is freemium. This is supposed to be an arrow, but it didn't copy it over correctly. Freemium to premium with a $25 per year subscription. The prompt then will also let you know, clarify before calculating, and it'll give you a few questions, so to say. And then each question should show a different perspective from each role. Do not calculate anything yet. Wait for my answers. I already pre-prompted this for time, so these are the questions that I've received. I won't go through all of them now, but I already started prompting or already answering them in a little bit. So we have what GCC countries, is the focus only on girls with smartphones? Is there a reason for parental consent, payment involvement? What is the competition? So existing alternatives. Is it culturally acceptable even in that country? So it is it is challenging me a lot, right? And this is now just a demo, so it will challenge you as well, if you have something with a sensitive topic. So also good here, if you don't have the answers, these are really good questions to also help you, still keep on validating your idea and your X design. Do you expect consistent usage through the year? I now just chose $25 per year premium price as something that parents will, as an MVP price to launch the app. Do you think it's fair? Will there be any currency adjustments? How do you define active reasonable user? What's your primary go-to-market channels? So I'm just quickly finalizing my answers here. Yes, it's fair. Local currency possible. See, how do you find active reasonable? Active user is equals download and today's weekly. And is that go to market is, yeah, schools, app stores, and Instagram and Snapchat, for instance. Upgrade by, yeah, parent, who's going to pay for it? I think that's always a really good question. So let's do parent or teenage girl, the age of 16. Yeah, girls, great account. So I've answered these questions now really, really lightly for demoing this. Let's see what we get out. Okay, yeah, they asked me to confirm my answers. This all looks good. Usage to increase with premium features, yeah, because there's a lock and because they pay for it. And there's also, of course, more functions released with the premium, product definition. And of course, if there's anything wrong here, now we can reprompt it. So now we have ready to calculate. I'll proceed with total universe potential users, slice, interesting. Yes, so here now they would say, please confirm, should I proceed with calculations? Let me see, I will quickly have, we have a second phase though for a prompt. So then the second phase would be, I want to have one more extra step in, which is codifying my assumptions. So I want to see what numbers we might want to work with. So I will say yes, and please codify the assumptions. So I also want to have a bit of range of what answers they could potentially give me. So for, I want the time sum sum, I want them to calculate that, but I also want to have, a reason behind it, why they would assume these numbers. So I can also make any assumptions or risk adjustments or still further look for something. So let's enter this prompt. It is thinking. It is still thinking. Okay, it is now currently looking for some data. It's looking for some numbers, scrolling through the web. Okay, no, that's really nice. I'm gonna enter now jetzt antworten because I want an answer now for the sake of the demo. And it doesn't want to work. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
There we go. So yeah, so now I get the assumptions of what numbers they will, so to say, work with. And if you really want to dive deeper here as well, you can always ask ChatGPT and any AI, of course, to please list also the sources, the URLs. You then also have to manually just click them to see if they're right or wrong. Okay, so here I now have my assumptions and also what the industry skeptic, so to say. So there are some uncertainties here. So also they're looking at what are the variants to consider, what are the risks pertaining to these numbers. Proposed assumption, yeah, 95% of all girls 12 to 18 have smartphones. Based on GCC smartphone penetration, highest globally. And reachable population filter. So that is what I have then for my TAM. So 3 assumptions here. The same thing for my serviceable accessible market. So looking at really the subset of the total market of girls aged 12 to 18, the GCC market. So then they say, well, it's probably more like, half of them are mobile gamers. That could be. Looking at interest in money and financial literacy, that's probably already narrowing it down a bit more. So who would be interested actually in learning about finance? Of course, here another factor could be that parents, for instance, would also like to maybe nudge girls or boys, of course, to learn about finances. So there we go. And then cultural acceptability factor. Yeah, so maybe some parents also just don't want their, don't see it right or aren't happy about their young girls as young as 12, for instance, or 13 to already learn about finances. So those are just some assumptions that they're making. Yeah, and then the sum is actually 1.5%. We'll download the app in year one. It's also looking at the market channels that I listed, so schools and a few social media. Of course, starting it, there will be low brand trust also because it's just new. So yeah, so it lists you all these assumptions. And now here it gives me, yeah, the summary, so to say, and I will just say confirm all. And then I should be getting my model. Yep, there you go. So my TAM is about 2.6 million teenage girls. My service available market is around 150,000. And then my year one should be around, yeah, 2.2 thousand users. And then actually says to me, okay, my premium subscribers will probably be only, you know, so to say 36 users. So really narrows it down. It's a very skeptical number. So it will say, okay, my annual revenue that I would get from these girls in total might only be $900. That would then lead me to say, maybe I need to buy, maybe up either the premium subscription rate. I might need to add more channels to target my users, or I need to think about having another revenue model in my app. So to say, you know, using ads, so to say, and then with the premium function, you get rid of all the ads. So that's another way to nudge them to move more to premium. So then I would have two revenue models to get my app in. Exactly, let's see. Yeah, so then you also get an interpretation with also the option of actually calculating it for the next 3 years. Yeah, so that is, so to say, the demo. I'll add the prompt in a second in the chat also. You already did, perfect. Yeah, and there's even a third phase even after the confirmation to, to calculate it, but it automatically did most of this now. So it gave me the numbers, the reach that are realistically reachable, but also showed me some risks and expected 1 year revenue. There we go.
Yeah, and just to stress again that I think ChatGPT is a great way to explore. And then indeed, as you can see, you can play around with the numbers and the channels and the segments, and then maybe use one of the other tools that we shared that you can compare to get immediately outcomes that you can use in your stories to people that are interested in, you know, market potentials and numbers and et cetera, and they will come with also new ideas because, of course, in these tools there is more specific business model data around the app industry, so they might give you also already some alternatives in your model. So really interesting way of helping you to think about these models. The floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. I'm Robert. So I'll be talking to you about the business model.
I can't hear you, Robert.
Yeah. Can you not hear me? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry, Tim, I thought you didn't hear me there. Thanks, everyone. Okay. So business model thinking is really just about taking this app that you have and applying an engine to that to get it into the market. Without the business model behind your app could fall flat in the water, right? So the idea is to take this and solidify not just the idea of the app, but to build an engine behind it. And that's what the business model thinking is all about. Okay, so once you've identified your service obtainable market, you have to think about a revenue model. The revenue model is really something that you need to do to keep the revenue generated, right? Make some money at the end of the day. There are different options or different revenue models that you can choose. And it could feel a little bit overwhelming, but really the idea here is to keep it simple. Choose one to start, right? Is it a free model to start with? Maybe that's a good way to get a lot of users to begin with. You saw from the example that Christina gave you that what you think might be your revenue in terms of the total accessible market, you may not reach all of that at the beginning. So you really don't want to be too optimistic, but what you want to target is to get as many users as possible. It may be a transactional model, which is looking at commission or transaction fees. There may be arbitrage going on. There could be interest model. And finally, a subscription-based model where people might be signing up to your app over a period of time. You might be moving from freemium to premium or a pay-per-user model. Main message to take away from this is keep it simple. All right. So what is the realistic MVP price for your app? At MVP stage, remember, this is about a learning tool. You just want to learn what price the market will be receptive to, right? But there are 3 key rules to keep in mind. First, again, keep it simple. Don't make it too complicated, monthly or yearly. That's what people are used to. You're not going to change the pricing, the way people see pricing. So they just need to be able to click and buy at the end of the day. Rule 2, early adopters will pay for value. So they're not your average users. They may be motivated to pay a bit more because they really feel this problem or they're eager to be the first user. So think about early adopters to help you, but be mindful of that in your pricing strategy, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then rule 3, pricing can double later on. So to start with, you want to attract as many users as possible. And then, of course, when the time comes, you can make it add more functionality, et cetera, and people will be willing to pay so long as you've proved your value, that you've met the pain point and covered the pain point. Okay, so we have B2Bs and B2Cs. In this case, we're looking at a B2C pricing, business to customer pricing. This is looking at many single users, right, to your business. So you have to be careful about the price. And you're looking at a range of free to $20 a year at a low price offering to a mid price, which is $20 to $60 a year, or a premium MVP. A lot will depend on the competition and what their pricing might be for that and what people are currently paying to solve that problem. You can do that research. So you can find out, how do people currently make this problem go away? What do they pay? How do they pay? So this is a great model just for you to think about in terms of what your pricing will be, remembering that it can increase later. Secondly, B2B. Now, the interesting comparison between B2C and B2B is that here you've got many users that you could potentially acquire. So this is a whole community of users. So your pricing strategy is going to be higher here. It's not going to be to acquire one user, but a group of users, 10 users, 20 users or more. So based on that, you might have different pricing ranges, but it's going to be higher, but potentially built in with some discounts to attract your the business that you're trying to attract to your app. Remembering all of this is about doing pilots, doing testing, getting information about what people are willing to pay to make the problem go away, to solve their problem, right? So this is your pricing strategy. Effectively, you need to choose one. Moving on to what will be your price for your minimum viable product, for that product that helps create value for your customer. Choose the price you will test with the early adopters, and then evolve your pricing beyond that. And I love this part, write your pricing hypothesis, right? So this is something that you can use in your pitch. We plan to charge this dollar per user per month or year because it delivers this value and costs us this much. So obviously with all of the slides here, come back to them and write this one down, because this is going to be a key moment in your pitch when you present. People will need to understand how you're getting to some kind of break-even point at some point with your product, which we're going to cover shortly. Right, operational models. Okay, so again, this is the engine room, right? The engine room behind your app. Without this, what's going to happen? How are people going to know about your app? So what are the key activities and the key resources that you need to do those activities? And what partners do you have, right? If I take those three things, remembering that this is ultimately going to be about your costs, okay? Resources are people that help deliver value, but they cost you money. So you need to know what they're going to, who they are and what they're going to do in terms of bringing your product to market, right? And then beyond that, once you're live, what key activities will make sure that your product continues to add value to customers? Okay. And who are the key partners that you have helping you along the way? Your partners are the guys that are helping you add value and that make your unique value proposition accessible in the market in some unique way. And this is the key, to be able to offer a unique value proposition through these activities to remove that pain point that you've discovered in your research phase previously. And remember, this is it's a draft, right? A business model is a draft. It's something that you're continuously adapting and iterating over time. Don't allow yourself to have a fixed business model in your early stages. You need to be able to adapt and learn, get feedback from people and trusted partners along the way. They will help you to get your product to market if you listen. So it's really important to listen along the way and not get beholden to the initial design that you come up with, right? So we always talk about, forget your darlings. Don't get too caught up with your darlings along the way. So effectively, this will be your cost structure, as I just mentioned. So all of those resources you have cost you money. You also have some fixed costs and some cost of sales that you need to do to take your product to market. And your fixed costs are the things that will cost you the same every month for a period of time. You've got to maintain your app over time. Don't forget about that. And you're constantly testing and fixing bugs. All of that stuff's going to cost money. So you have to know exactly what your costs are, both in terms of fixed and variable, and then understand how you're going to go to market. What is your cost of sales? What are your ad costs? What other incentives or promotions will you be using? It's Black Friday coming up. So are you going to have a Black Friday special? And of course, your partners may help you here to get you to market, but be careful to make sure that they're on board. And also you want to really know, ultimately your acquisition cost. So your acquisition cost is going to help you, to obviously get your customers, your cost of customer acquisition cost, but it may not include your fixed cost. And effectively, if you take all of those costs, you want to reach a break-even point, because once you're scaling, once you've got to more users than what you're originally going to have in the starting moment, you're going to start to break even. Do you know your break-even point? That's really a key question to ask. Okay. It's time for a 5-minute break. Thanks everybody for your attention, and we're looking forward to seeing you back in 5 minutes.
Hi, everyone. Hope that everybody's enjoying the workshop. We have 5 minutes break. So we will be back at 4:05 Dubai time. So in the meantime, I would love to take advantage to remind everyone that tomorrow at 3 p.m. we have our weekly Q&A. So it's the moment where you can ask all your questions regarding the competition. We will be more than happy to answer. Also, I encourage everyone who has questions regarding the competition to visit the FAQ section. And as well, there is a chat bot on the web portal. So you can also ask questions to the chat bot. If you still have questions and you don't want to share it, you can also always send us an email to createapps@bncpublishing.net, and we will be happy to answer. And last but not least, please don't forget to visit the community forum on the portal, because maybe some participants ask the question that you want to ask. So, and we answered already. So you can check if someone else asked the same question on the participants forum. That's it. Thank you very much. I will leave you for your 2 minutes break now.
Okay, shall we get going again, everybody? Maybe you have gotten a refreshment or a coffee or a tea, something else. It's good to see so many people are still joining. So let's go. And let's go. We will talk a little bit about MVP. And of course, we already talked quite a bit about MVP in the previous sort of sharings that we did. And sometimes it helps to try to, to be even clearer about that, because sometimes it's a difficult conversation of what your MVP exactly is. So if you talk about things that you can find if you Google, or things that you can find if you talk to people that have a lot of experience with launching apps or other services to the market, then of course what you often hear is really the MVP should deliver the sort of differentiating promise, right? You talked about your marketing stuff. Differentiating promise is very important to reach the customers that you want to use as launching customers. So that's a good starting point. What also is good to realize, and that's of course the way Erik Ries talked about it in his Lean Startup, is that it's interesting if your MVP creates maximum learning when you bring it to the market. So you bring it to the market sort of assuming, and you have your evidence because you've tested before and you've validated before, you have evidence that it's delivering the differentiating promise. But it's very important also to show to your investors that you're really open to learning, because if you're really open to learning by testing your MVP, then you're really open to quickly and be agile in changing and really understanding the changes that you need to make it a big success. So both assuming that you know what the differentiating promise is and that you deliver that, it's very important to have this learning mindset, because your MVP is just a very first small start of working on building the market. So think about it. Think about the learning. Think about opening up. And then if you then think about your MVP, then I always like this. Why is it not moving? And I always like the way of thinking about an MVP with these visuals. And of course, we might have seen these visuals before. What is this? Is this an MVP? Well, many of you will, of course, know this is not an MVP, because if you talk about a car, the important factor is, of course, is that you can move from one place to the other place. And if you split it up in parts like this, then that doesn't help, right? A wheel doesn't get you anywhere. So this is typically what you think about an MVP, maybe if you really think inside out. You know, if you really think from how do we build your MVP. If you then take it a bit further, then of course you can think about an MVP like this. And this will help you move from one place to the other in different ways. So this is thinking about MVP. Think about the problem that your end user is having, and if you solve it with the minimal viable product that you launch to the market. What we often do by defining your MVP, and it really helps, is to plot the use cases of your end user when using your app, plot them next to each other, and just next to each other on a horizontal line, and just pull down the ones that you think are key for solving the problem. And these will be the functionalities that you will support in your app. It's really an interesting, way of looking at your app, and it really gives you another level of thinking about, well, what will your MVP build? Because you really have to think about these use cases and what kind of problems people now have with getting these use cases done in maybe a different way. So a little bit of thinking about an MVP. And if you then go back to your marketing stuff that you've done in earlier sessions, of course, in your MVP, you think about the top circle, right? You think about your hygiene factors combined with your must-haves. Very important, of course, the reasons to believe. Really those use cases that make and help the end user solve the problem or get the things done that they need to get done. So very important in thinking MVP. And sometimes you do it in a more casual way, thinking about what your minimal viable product is. I really recommend to use that use case structure to do a rethinking about. And also when you continue to develop your app, this use cases flow can really help you. If we then think about launching with focus, I think Robert, that is your part. But before I go there, I want to ask you a question, and you can answer that question in the chat if you like. So for your app, what is maybe the one use case, the one functionality, the one must-have that you think is key for your minimal viable product. Please leave your messages in the chat so that we can have a look if you really have thought about the key sort of functionalities that you need. Shipment. That's a must-have, right? Shipment. Discovery. Can you be more precise what you mean by these things, for example? Because I can understand that shipment and discovery suppliers. Okay, great. Other must-haves of other people in the audience. Bookings and availability, locations. Yes, that's quite concrete. Nice. Thank you. Any other must-haves or any other reasons to believe? So the little things, pre-orders. Okay. Yes. So nice. Yes. So think about these differentiating functionalities in your package tracking through Google Maps or Apple. Nice. Yeah. Very nice. Providing resources to entrepreneurs for a faster system. Can you make that concrete? I think Ankit. Then Osama says server up and running in less than 5 minutes instead of weeks. That's a business-to-business case. Nice. Pre-diagnosis. Nice. Pre-diagnosis for what? What is your app doing? Great. Okay, thank you very much for your responses. I think, Robert, you can pick up the floor and talk about channels and the AIDA model.
Okay, thanks for your engagement, everyone, and thanks, Tim, for all that interesting information. I think, yeah, this is an interesting one, everyone. You know, some of you said you have like up to 1 billion, 7 billion, I think I saw in markets, right? Well, you saw from the exercises that we did with Christina and even with Tim that you need to be realistic about your markets. And by when will different user groups end up signing up to your product? And how are you going to reach them, right? So this is a lovely slide that just shows the different types of sort of adoption rates that you might expect from different type of adopters. So you have your innovators, your early adopters, your early majority, and then of course late majority and laggards. But by the time you get to your late majority, you're probably going to be thinking, what's the new system or value proposition that I can offer? But effectively, just think about this when you're putting together your target markets. Think about how you're going to bring them on board and how you're going to reach these guys. Because if you don't, let me put it this way, if you don't launch with focus, again, there's a risk that your beautiful app, no matter how amazing it is, no matter how good the design, no matter what technology you've used, it can fall flat in the water. You need to be able to reach your customer. And here's the model for that, right? AIDA model. Put a thumbs up or give us an indication if you've heard of this before in the chat. Let's see if how many people have heard of the AIDA model before. But really, I think the key thing to bear in mind here is that this is about a journey. So those of you that have done journey mapping, this is really about understanding the beginning, the middle, and the end. And the end for you is the beginning, because that's when they start using the app. But when you want to reach your customer group, you have to make them aware of what is happening. You need to grab their attention with both hands, right? So you need to have a compelling message in the market that will help them. And really that is by focusing on channels. So understand your channels, understand where your customers are, and be very clear on what media or even partners you're going to use to first grab that attention, right? Grab their attention. The second part is really, building interest. So now you've got their attention, but you want to keep them. What are you going to do to keep them? Direct them to a website landing page. Maybe there's a YouTube explainer, or maybe you've got some advocates out there who you can point them to, who can talk about the product. The key message really is just to make sure that they can see that you've got a valid solution that meets their need, that solves their pain point. And then what do we need to do? We need to spark desire, right? Spark their desire. Really, you've got their interest now, but you've got to convert that interest into something. This could be things like Instagram stories, showing other users that have used it, right? Wow, these people are doing it. I need to do that. You could have a referral program that gets people into your app. You could have a partner in a university that's telling them about this and how important it is for them to do, et cetera, right? And so all of this, guys, is to do one thing: action, right? We need them to take action. If we don't have a good call to action, right, for them to actually dive into your app and start using it, you're going to lose them. So the important thing to remember here, everyone, is that if you drop any of these steps along the way, you're going to lose a potential user. The attention to detail in this particular thing is critical to your business model. And knowing and understanding your channels. Somebody asked a question right at the beginning of the session. What are your channels? These are the platforms that you use to drive people to your app. And this is an excellent model that really will show you, and you and your team, right? You and your team, how to get market penetration to those first early adopters, those innovators and early adopters. The innovators, there might be people that are working with you already. They may be some of your partner groups. So it's about building an ecosystem and making sure that those early adopters know about your app and then start talking about it or helping you promote your app. And making it also, I think the one thing to think about is making it like, if I don't do this, I'm not part of the cool crew, right? I'm not doing the thing to save my life, or I'm lost. And without this, I won't be able to succeed in my life or succeed with improving my health. So I think it's really important to really get that message across and effectively gain their attention. So the question to ask here is, what is the first thing your user sees, right? So wherever they are and whatever it is that they're doing in their lives, what is the first thing that they see? So therefore, how can you use that to grab their attention? And then lastly, what is the one action you want them to take? So write down this question and build this as part of your AIDA model. What is the first thing your user sees? And what is the one action you want them to take? Okay. And be sure to grab their attention, sign up now, whatever it is, and then induce them to take action. Do something that will make them think it's really important. Okay. Now it's on to the knowledge test. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Exactly. And let me get in there instead. So if people still have the Menti open, then please hop on back there. Otherwise, again, it's www.menti.com with the code 4508 2426 posted again in the chat. So let's see, I have 37 people back in here. We are 80 people in this webinar. Let's see if we can maybe get half the people on this Menti right now.
Come on, everybody.
5 more, 38. Okay, 2 more.
Let's see what we
Come
learned.
on.
Come on, you can do it.
Give yourself a little push.
Don't be scared.
Want to have some nice answers. 39. Okay, we need one more. We are complete. half is satisfactory for now. Let's go.
Well done.
Okay, so following up on even 41. Thank you. So following up on Robert's insights of channels. So if you think of Aida, what would be your key message in the attention phase? So in that first phase, when you want to get into contacting your users, making them aware of your app. So one, think who that is and which channel. So, you know, is it going to be, for instance, with that apps for young girls? It's going to be, are you going to use Instagram? Are you going to go through schools? Are you going to target their parents maybe? And then think of what could be a key messaging. So looking at really at like advertising, reaching out to them. What is a key message to grab attention for your app? This might take a while to think about. Organize your life. Well, that's already a good start. Find 3, 2, 1 easily. That's also a nice catchphrase. University, e-learning and mailing. Let it go, let it flow. Already sounds like good catchphrase.
Okay.
Yeah, begin with in, rise beyond. Yeah, these are really, really nice messages. Yeah, easy compliance for your business. Okay, so you're also click it, get it done. So very fast, very, concrete call to actions here. Digital transformation takes a lot of time and efforts. With our platform, you're up and running in Minuten, which is German, but within minutes. Learn smart. Okay, so very clear, very effective messaging, right? Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay, supercharge your minds on
And
health
of,
and wealth.
and of course, maybe to add in these first messages, really focus on the problems people have and try to trigger them to recognize that you talk about their problem, so they will do something, action, as Robert said.
Every expat carries a quiet ache, the feeling about being far from home, even when surrounded by people. We have home in a pocket. That sounds very familiar to a pitch that we heard earlier today. So yeah, really beautiful. I think this is already also a good mood board for everyone else who's thinking about how to craft those messaging of how this could look like. Okay, then we have a few questions for you guys now. So seeing how much you paid attention. So when designing a go-to-market strategy, what is the first thing you should think about clarifying? Would that be your primary target segment, launch market, where your office will be, how you will expand to 50 more new countries, or which fonts to use? Okay. I think this one is definitely an easy giveaway. So yeah, thinking about your primary target segment, who are your users, who are your innovators and early adopters, how you're going to target them, and in which market will you launch? Yep. Fantastic. Then what is a key risk of relying on only one acquisition channel? Example given, only Instagram ads when launching your app. That maybe too many users sign up, your app store ranking disappears, you become dependent. If that channel fails, growth stops, or you can't track analytics. Yeah. I think again, also here to clarify when we say also only one, so only one acquisition channel, you really want to diversify that portfolio. Please don't mix this up with, maybe starting with just one revenue model and then testing, iterating with your MVP and then growing as you go along. So yeah, here definitely acquisition channels have multiple, and also there think about what users are on those channels and how to best target them. So you wouldn't only have the same messaging for the users probably on one channel, but if you think about algorithms as well, like B2B, maybe more LinkedIn, Instagram, there are different things to capture people's attention. So they're also look into, if it's social media, look into the types of advertising there are and what users really, what's trending, for instance, right now, where you can make a good hook. Yep. And then what is the main goal of early adopter users in your launch strategy? They provide revenue only. They act as beta testers and help you refine the product. They help you design your brand, or they can even help you negotiate with investors. Yeah, I think this one also feels quite straightforward. They act as beta testers, help you refine the product. And even if you think about it, even the people that you reached out for, even at the beginning of this webinar series, to do user research or to validate your apps, validate UX design, validate your UI design, validate your insights. Those are already your early adopters. And now you're really taking them through the journey here of understanding how you're building your app, how you're including their input, how you're refining your ideas based on their insights. And even when you launch the app, these early adopters, continue to do the same with feedback. Okay, and then what is the core purpose of the business model for your app? Does it describe your app's color palette? Does it summarize your app to your competitors? Does it list all possible features? Or does it explain how you create, deliver, and capture value? Skander wrote, actually alpha closed, not beta. It depends how you see it, but
I think the important thing here is to stay lean.
No one really agrees with describing the app's color palette, so good job in paying attention. I think that was all the questions that we had for you right now. So we still have quite some time left. We went through everything quite quickly today. So we want to give you guys the floor of letting us know what your questions still are right now. Is there everything clear with marketing, with market channels, how to launch your app? Anything about business models, about how to get the numbers, where to get the numbers, using AI to help you?
Of course, again, we shared the AI prompt in the chat. So if you want to use that, and I think it can really help you develop your thinking around your business model, around channels, around numbers. So I would really advise you to use that.
I can also add a few points just in terms of your business model is keep it lean, guys. Like especially when you're doing your pitch, make sure that that everything that you pitch in your business model is in alignment.
I can. Robert, you go.
It seems there's a bit of a delay, but yeah, what I was saying is, just in terms of your business model, ensure that it's a lean business model, guys. Don't show like an over big thing for the 7 billion people on the planet. Focus on that target market, on your MVP, and who your core partners are, and demonstrate that you're not working in isolation with those core partners. With regards to activities, show actions that support a functioning MVP, right? So your actions that you're going to talk about, if you're going to present this in your pitch, need to show how your MVP is going to be working in operation and how you're going to keep it up and running. And lastly, just in terms of the resources, once again, highlight only what is critical for launch, right? That is important for the guys to understand. What is critical for launch? And somebody said right at the beginning, what's the ask, right? So you're going to explain that your ask, in fact, like the funding that's available for you, explain how you're going to use that funding effectively to do these things, to take this product and make it successful. That's the ask. How do you make your product successful?
Maybe I see a question about the sort of the market sizing, about the potential market and your accessible market and your obtainable market. So which part of the market you think you can grab, and you want that in money size. Actually, of course, you need the actual numbers, but it's important also for the people that you pitch to is that they understand what these numbers will consume from a money perspective, so that you understand and they understand the potential in business terms, in money terms. And there could be a strategy, of course, to first grow market share by having less revenue and sort of learning. So you might do it against low pricing in the market, or maybe even free, to grow market potential. But you should really explain your strategy from a monetary and money point of view, so that the investors understand how the return on investment might work and how your model might work. And also, if you understand the money thing, you understand also how to test and play around with that part of your business model. So you need to have money, and it's also shown, if you look back at the slides and look more in detail, then you can also find the fact that you need, in this case, USDs. You might want dirhams or the market that you go for. But yeah, so money. I see Osama, you raised your hand. You want to take the floor to share your question?
Yes. Good afternoon, all.
Hi.
Many thanks for the informative session. It's really awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, and sorry
Great.
for not opening the cam. I'm really watching from the car, so
No worries. Yeah, be
Easy.
careful.
no, I'm stopped, but all
Good.
good. Yeah, my question is the following regarding the pricing plan. So how do you balance between operational costs and acquisition costs while you stay competitive in the price? So because I guess operational is something that you can always you know what resources you have. It's more predictable, I believe, but for acquisition, how much you can allocate and how does this work normally? I'm a technical person, I'm not a business, so that's why I feel like I want to stay competitive in the price while I also want to plan to scale. And planning to scale needs acquisition costs, I guess, to be well considered. Hopefully my question is clear.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Maybe not fully clear, but let's start the conversation and see where we get. It's very important to have all these costs clear. If you approach the market and if you want to show your investors how your model will create return, it is very important to have a very clear focus on the cost per user, and that's the variable cost to operate, including the cost of sale. Because if you start with really focusing on that part, you can show your investor how to grow the market and still have a margin while growing the market, so that your investor will be confident that the fixed cost at some point will be covered by the margin that you get. But you have to really focus on your variable cost. Usually those are also the biggest costs. The variable cost, to show your investor whether your business plan is a feasible business plan that it really creates a return. So I would very much focus on the variable cost and the cost of acquisition, and then think about your fixed cost.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, but just one more question, follow-up question. Is there a formula that I can follow, or like a standard process normally for to allocate this normally from the beginning, in the beginning of a product?
To be very honest, I don't know of a standard formula, but I could imagine that maybe one of those tools that we shared with you have some more information on potential ideas of what a good balance is between fixed cost and variable cost. So I would suggest use a few or one or two of those tools, AI tools, and see what they come back with, because they have more of this exact data in their database. So if you search for that, you get some good answers there, I think.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay. A lot more questions coming up. So where are the please add the prompts here. Yeah, so we added the prompts in the tool. which is another good question. If you have a good question, please shout out loud. Revenue forecast too. Yeah, revenue forecast is of course also an interesting one based upon the launch, and then how much of your obtainable market you can grab, depending on the money you spent in the different channels, as Robert explained, to reach these customers. So you really need to have that in the forecast as well. The advice to limit a first release to specific markets before rolling out wider, or are there examples of apps that grew worldwide directly? Well, if you talk about the question, am I still? Yes, talk about the question on limit. Sorry. Very good, very good. So that we don't say counter things. Yes, yeah, local markets. Yeah, yeah. Because also what you see from the big examples, of course, they also started in the local markets often and then spread more and more globally. Sarah, please take the floor.
Yeah, hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for another amazing session. All sessions are great and so informative. My question is regarding the business model. If I have a freemium model, it's an app, free to download, and then it has free features, but also features you can subscribe to. So all I have to say it's freemium, and everybody knows, what freemium is. What else do I need to say regarding my business model? What else?
Can you be a bit more concrete? What else do I say about my business model?
What else should I mention on the pitch slide? Business model. Apart from that, it's freemium.
Yeah. Well, if it's freemium, and if you plan at some point to add functionality that provides income, and maybe in the freemium part you will have partners that will be your sponsors, I think it's very important to explain to your investors what the strategy is to make money. And if the strategy is first freemium, so you won't have an income for some time, then these people understand that it will be an investment, and that after some time you will add features that people want to pay for, and maybe you'll add partners for sponsoring. So you should explain that business model for these people to really understand what they get into, and also have a good conversation about that strategy together with you.
Yeah, and also it's both B2C and B2B. I mean, primary focus is B2C, but it's got B2B potential as well. So shall I put it as a potential, or just, solid B2B? What's the best way of articulating it?
Yeah, well, it's of course a little bit through testing you will find which of these markets have the highest potential, also from a cost of acquisition perspective, for example. But I would present a strategy that you assume now to have, because you have evidence, because you already tested it, and present that strategy to the venture capitalists that you pitch for.
Yeah. So another question I have is regarding testing. I haven't tested it, to be honest. It's not tested. Yeah, I've got all the stats, research, and so on and so forth. And, based on the competitor analysis, I can see there's market for it, so on and so forth. But I haven't tested on real people.
That's of course.
I haven't got to it yet. Now, for me, there's not much time left. So what would you suggest, maybe 2 quick things that I can do to test it?
Yeah, because what we always say is that if you have a clear sort of end user in mind, then you don't need, to have contact with 1,000 of these people. To build some evidence that your app is solving the problem. So if you share your idea or your app already with maybe 10 of these people, you get really good feedback on how they appreciate it, and you can use that feedback as evidence in your pitch. And actually, evidence is very key to have in your pitch, because evidence is coming from end users that you really help. And if you share stories how they appreciated your app, it will really convince these people that, you know, that it has market potential because you test it.
Okay, if I let's say test on family and friends, does that count, or these have to be
Yeah, for sure,
screenshots?
for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe take a few.
Yes. Yeah.
You should be able to get these.
Yeah. Right. Thanks.
Remember, when you do the testing, not to look for confirmation that it works. Ask them to dig holes in it. Ask them to say what doesn't work. If you really got to approach it from a point of view of asking them to help you improve it, as opposed to just saying, "Oh, this is fantastic. You've done an amazing job." That's not useful to you. What you want is, no, I would prefer to see this, or I would prefer to see that, or can you help me understand why it's like this? Those are the kinds of feedback that you want. So first, identify who your key testing market is, make sure that they're unbiased. And then secondly, ask them for really authentic feedback. Don't look for, just people that are going to rub your back and pat you on the shoulder. That's not going to help.
Yeah, thanks.
But also, maybe if I can just add to that one question where Tim responded in terms of, getting, authentic feedback and also being able to have the right partners. If you can show that you've got partners, then that's going to also give the app a lot more substance, and show that you've got the support to keep you going. And so I think those two things are really, really important, in order for you to illustrate the strength of your solution in terms of the business model. And when you're pitching the business model, focus on competitive advantage. Your partners, the activities you do, and the way you use your resources, that combination of three things, you can give a couple of lines in your pitch around how that gives you a competitive advantage to other people, to other apps, in terms of meeting the value proposition of your customer. That's key. So, the operating model in terms of the business model, you need to just be able to show that you've got an ecosystem behind you to keep it going. They don't want to put money into something that's just going to not have the resources to support itself.
Yeah, sorry, can I just add one more thing, Robert? So, okay, let's say I go to the restaurant next door and I say, can you test my app? Because that's relevant to them and their employees. And at this point, I have vibe coded, the app, which I can see on my phone. How do I actually give access to them, to the phone? Because this is only the Android version. I don't have test flight on iOS. It's easier with test flights, and I don't want to give them APK. So is there an easy way to give people access who are not technical and don't have to mess with links and so on? How can they actually test, gain access to the MVP right now to test? Like a easy, practical way of not overwhelming people with links, downloads, and other things.
Well, what we sometimes do is create then simple clickable models, right, from your app, so that they anyway have the experience, so that you can see how they behave and what they do if you share them the clickable format of your app. And it's more limited, of course, than the full experience, but still, I think the key activities that they will do in your app will be there. So you have evidence that they will do stuff in that clickable model, and because they do stuff because they want to do it because it solves their problem. So you build some evidence then, and building that evidence is actually is very important to use in your pitch.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think that's all that they're looking for right now. It's just a clickable model. You don't have to have a fully developed app so far. If you've got a clickable model that you can illustrate that you've had users click on and use and say, well, wow, this is something we would love to use, then those are good stories that you can share and then, pitch your ask.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
There's like Lovable app. There's an app called Lovable that helps you to develop a very quick.
Yes, I've used Lovable and a couple of other AI tools, in parallel. Yeah. So in terms of evidence, let's say, do I need to video this person, using my app? Or do I need to take a picture of them?
The evidence and visual evidence is interesting. To be honest, I don't know whether that's necessary, but maybe Carmen can
Yes, yes,
tell you
yes.
later.
I can jump in, Tim, no
Yeah.
worries. So, Sarah, the ideal, I mean, I think that is very cool to show that you already have testing in that front, but it's just a walk through your prototype. So we wanted to see how your wireframes look like. As Robert pointed, doesn't need to be a clickable prototype. With the wireframe will be enough, just to understand what are the main feature and how you deliver value to your users. So how will be in a feature. Hope this clarifies.
Yeah, but in terms of evidence, you know, showing evidence that I had like 10, 20 people test it and they liked it, for example.
That, I think that is good to mention on the deck, you know,
Yes.
when it's traction.
Yes, it's
You
about
already
the
have traction. Yes, definitely, because it's something that is good and show that this definitely there is a product that is desirable, no? That is something that you want to show that there is a need and the people want it and the people like it. But for the prototype itself, what matters really is
just
to
my
understand
question
the
is,
technical
what
aspect.
format do I provide the evidence? Video, the users using my app and saying, oh, this is great, or taking a picture of them, or them just writing a review and I show that review, say, okay, look, these people. So what was the acceptable format?
I mean, it's up to you. You have some certain limitations. That is 5 minutes video, and you have to tell your story. You have to present your pitch deck, your business model, how you deliver value, and you have to walk through your prototype. If you want to have a slide with testimonials, or you want to have a clip of how they use it, is completely up to you. What I suggest is that maybe you collect some feedback for mentors that are on the mentor circle. How will be the best way to do it? But I'm telling you that you have the 5 minute limitation. So focus on what really matters.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
Any other questions? There must be other questions. All good for now? Yeah? Do we have, yeah, I'm not watching the chat, to be honest. Yeah. Consists of mobile. Which will only cover the for MVO in order to be legally backed up before we can make our first.
I mean, personally, I think if you can get to 100 users quite quickly, I think that's great. I mean, whether it's profitable or not yet, that's another story. But, you know, we went through that. And I think that your key job would be to show that you can get to these users in some way, right? How are you going to get to those users? And effectively, at some point, you're going to reach a break-even point. But I think what they would be looking for is that your app meets a need. If your app meets a need in some compelling way, preferably an unmet need in some compelling way, then your app's going to be in demand. I don't think, the profitability of it and all of that will be part of the your ask and what you're trying to achieve. Really show how you can grow the use of this app, because then, think about Facebook. It was free for a long time, and eventually advertising made it one of the biggest companies in the world. So, your main job here should be to show that your app meets an unmet need, and that you've tested that, and you have other people saying to you and partners, potentially other stakeholders, that this is something that the market needs. And if you can show that you've tested that with people who've got credibility, I don't know, doctors, university people, if you can show what they've said about your app, it's a valid feedback. You can point them to those people, but you can just say, we spoke to these institutions and they say that this is a really important need to be met. So in the way you tell your story when you do your pitch, you can refer to those credible partners, stakeholders in the system. I hope that answers that question. I kind of dodged it.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. You were talking about like testing the app and then showing to valuable people like university people and so on. But what about if the app target are not those people, and the target tested it and then send the feedback. Is it counting as a good data to take into account?
Well, I didn't fully get it, but if you said that that you have tested it with a number of people and you got feedback, then that counts as good evidence that people have used your app. But I'm doubting a little bit whether that answers your question.
I think the importance here, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, it's in a way answer it, because when you were like giving the example, you said if the app is tested by doctors or professors, those people, those valuable people, then the feedback can be something like tangible and evidence of yes, the app is working. The app is facing a need, and so on. So my question was:
Are they the end users, the professors and the doctors, or are they specialists but not the end users? Because you really need end user feedback. Expert feedback is nice support, but you really need end user customer feedback.
Okay. Because mine is in the fintech, so and it's in the world of electronic commerce, electronic business.
Yeah.
So,
okay. No, it should really be end users that you should be targeting on. Okay. All right. I thank you very much for your question, Michael, and all the others. And we would like to end up with some key takeaways and some information about the session of not next week, but for the session at the 17th of December, talking from my head. So key takeaways from today. Of course, the quantifying, and it's both numbers of users and money-wise, let me put it that way, is key for your investors to understand what they're talking about. So it's very important to have a good structured story around that. Also you can share a strategy, how you plan to make money in a particular period of time, so you don't have to make money straight from the beginning. But there should be a clear story behind it. For your MVP, as I said, focus on the use cases that really solve the problem that your end user is using, and creating a little use case story and trying to pick the ones that are really helpful is a handy way of developing or designing your MVP. A focused launch means understanding you're launching customers. Well, that's of course interesting, but try to find these early adopters in your space to really have that first launch and do the learning with that first launch. And together, of course, you will create your business model that you really have to share to these end users. Key takeaways for today and for the next session, and maybe Carmen, I don't know if you want to take over, or shall I share?
No, that's perfect. It's perfect. So you can continue, and I will
okay, good.
Talk about the news that we have for this week. It's fine.
So workshop 6, it's not next week, but the week after. Next week you have this great session with the winner of last year, I think, right? As I remember.
Yes.
So for next week, it's very important over 2 weeks, to have a clickable prototype ready that you can work with in the session. You should have completed your app business canvas, of course, and your pitch canvas, and of course download the prints that can help you to build these business canvases, to have the full story in your pitch, and of course complete the quiz on the portal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Christina. Thanks, Mariam, for being here helping with the chat to trying to answer as much of your questions as possible. So just to finalize the workshop, that it was very insightful. Thanks a lot to the team, because as I anticipated at the beginning of the session, is one of the most important workshops is when you develop your business model with AI. So tomorrow will be, or after tomorrow maximum, will be the recording of the session on the portal. For those who didn't watch the full, didn't attend to the full workshop, or wanted to refresh some concept later, you can do it. So just to recap of news that we have. Tomorrow we have, as every week, Thursday, 3 to 4 p.m. Dubai time, or weekly check-in call. It's the perfect moment to ask all your questions regarding the competition, and we will be happy to answer all of them. Next week, that is the 3rd of December, Wednesday, we will have winner showcase. We will have the 4 winners of last year competition where they will show their deck, they will be sharing, presenting their app, and show their prototype. So it's the perfect moment to ask for tips to the winners of last year. The following week, if I'm not mistaken, we will be already on the 10th of December. Yes, Wednesday, we will have another special session for all of you who want to pitch and get feedback live. The team will be more than happy to give you actionable feedback live. And as Tim said, on the 17th will be the workshop 6. So there is like plenty of sessions and workshop to attend. So please keep in track and work hard, because the submission will be open on the 28th. So just in 2 days, but you will still have time until the 4th of January to submit your application. So my colleague Marian will be sharing the links to register for the upcoming workshop, as well as the Zoom link for tomorrow, and the WhatsApp channel as well. So the WhatsApp channel, yes, Alexander, I can see is on the chat that yes, the deadline has changed. So that is also a very good news, that you will have until the 4th of January to submit. So from the 28th. So please keep an eye of updates on the submission page, because all the submission needs to be done through the platform. So have an eye on the submit page for more information. I think that is.
Carmen, can I ask last question? So for the one, if we want to pitch, to get feedback from.
Yes.
Do we prepare the pitch deck and we share our screen, or we just talk without having any visuals or any pitch deck? What's the format?
But to be honest, it will be an open floor. So what we are gonna do is, like, as we join the session, it will be as we were doing in the previous workshop, that sometimes not everybody has the chance to pitch. You know, when Christina allowed to everyone to raise their hands and volunteers how your 5 minutes will look like, that's fine. If you feel confident and you want to share your deck, I think that it will be also fine. But
yeah, thank you.
Okay, Lara, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you. So
good luck, everybody.
That's it. Thanks a lot once again. And for those who just joined the competition, we are here to support you. So please don't hesitate to ask for help if you need. I encourage everyone to visit the Mentor Circle. And just as the last thing that I will say, please visit the Mentor Circle, because we have wonderful mentors there that we will be more than happy to give their time to you, 30 minutes there for you, to ask your questions, to provide feedback. Technical mentors, business mentors, ambassadors, and ideation mentors. So please visit the Mentor Circle and take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. And now I sip. I wish you all of you a wonderful evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Until next time. Happy learning!